Hey everybody out there, this is Seto, and today for you guys we are going to be profiling a deck profile of a deck that I've been just having a lot of fun building and playing, but I know a lot of people out there do not like this deck. I know the deck is very degenerate. I'm being very open about all that, but it's just something that I've been playing for fun in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Off season. And that is Nurse Burn OTK or FTK or Darklord Nurse Rafficule deck, whatever you want to call it. Now, this is a very degenerate deck if you're not familiar with it. It just gives your opponent life points and burns them for that many life points. Very degenerate deck. Has seen success off and on throughout Yu-Gi-Oh's history, especially now that Nurse Rafficule, about a year or two ago, was changed to Darklord Nurse Rafficule, which means it's searchable through its own Rhoda now, the Darklord Rhoda. So overall, the deck is very degenerate and very good at what it does, but I enjoy playing it for fun. It's been a fun little burn type of deck to play. I haven't played burn since Chain Burn like a year or so ago. So it's just nice to once in a while get into just a very degenerate deck and just build it and try to do good with it. The problem with the deck that the deck does have, though, is it does suffer from hand traps. That's the thing this deck really suffers from. Hand traps, hand traps, hand traps, especially Drill and Lock. Ghost Dash, you can sometimes still win with that. But a Drill and Lock ends your combos right away. You cannot. Drill is very hard to get around. That's why we run some cards to counteract hand traps, because hand traps are the bane of this deck. So if you're playing against this deck, have Drill and Lock, main it. Main your Drill and Locks. So let's get into the deck profile. First off, 3 Darklord Nurse Rafficule. Pretty much just states any effect, damage, any life points that your opponent would gain, they lose that amount instead. So Gift Card, for example, one of the main cards that we run in the deck. You give your opponent 3,000 life points, and if Nurse Rafficule or bad reactions is emojis on the field, you pretty much burn your opponent for 3,000 life points just like that. So that's how this deck works. So 3 Darklord Nurse Rafficule. It is searchable through banishment of the Dark Lords because you can Rhoda this into this as long as they don't Ash it. So yeah, 3 Nurse Rafficule. Next we run 3 Darklord Ishtab, which is kind of your draw engine of the deck. The reason I even built this deck was I always told myself when, she got reprinted about 2 years ago, 3 years ago now, I said to myself, when Ishtab gets reprinted, because I already had a copy of it, but I was playing it in pure Darklords, which I still have, I said to myself, when this gets reprinted, I'll pick them up and build Nurse Burn. Well, it got printed in Battles of Legends, so here I am completing this promise to myself that I made 3 years ago. So 3 Darklord Ishtab. You also run, which some people run and don't run, and sometimes you can side deck it in and out, 3 Darklord Superbia. 2 Darklord Superbia. This is just another way to pitch Ishtab with Superbia to get your draw power. So it can get cloggy sometimes, but you can Allure of Darkness it away. It does not work well with card demise, but you could run Chain Strike, which is at 1 of now. You could run Pathways of Destiny instead. So you could run a triple Pathways and 1 Chain Strike if you wanted to, but from playing around with the ratio, I like this. It gives me a little bit more consistency with Ishtab's effect. Like I said, I was considering actually even running the Reborn card as a 1-of, so I could Reborn the Superbia, get back Ishtab, and then, or Nurse Rafficule if they seem to get around her, and then I could continue on my merry way. But I've been liking this engine a little bit better. I took that spell out because it was counterintuitive to Pot of Duality, which was really helps out with digging through your deck for your trap cards. So this is the ratio I run. You don't have to run Superbia. Definitely the 3 Ishtab, but you can play around with that however you want to. Then we run our 3 Rhoda for our Dark Lords. Yeah, I've been collecting the cards for the deck for the second version of this deck for quite some time, as you can see. So 3 Banishment you run. You activate this, search Dark Nurse Rafficule, or you can search Ishtab to deck thin if you already have a Superbia in hand. So it works out in a multitude of different ways on how you can play this. So 3 Banishment, you want to make sure that this thing does not get ashed or drilled. Next up, especially Ashed. Next we run 3-card Demise, which is staple in the deck. Like I said, this is counterintuitive to Superbia, but it works out fairly well in the end from playtesting this a lot. But 3-card Demise, staple in the deck, you run 3. Draw power, draw power, draw power, so you can get to your Rafficule, bad reaction to this emoji, and just get to your trap cards that are necessary to burn your opponent. That's what the deck does. Next, 3 Allure of Darkness, pretty straightforward. You run all darks and it works better. So say you drew too many of these, like Ixtab or Superbia, you can banish this, or if you draw too many Nurse Rafficule, you can banish that and just draw 2 cards. That's one of the reasons why I actually added the Superbia, because I wanted a little bit more of dark counts to make Ixtab live and make Allure live as well, because only running 6 monsters was just not enough to run 3 Allure, it felt like, even though I was drawing through cards constantly. So 3 Allure with the 8 cards works a lot better, I find. Just from using mathematics to figure all this out. Next, we run a card that's pretty much like an Upstart Goblin for the deck. Works out very well, and that's Into the Void. This is pretty much Upstart for your deck. Yes, you have to discard at the end of your hand, but usually you're setting... if you're going with this, you're pretty much assuring yourself that you are going to win that turn on your opponent's turn by activating gift card, gift card, gift card, or gift card, try and guess, whatever the case may be with Into the Void. You're going to win that turn, because this is pretty much just like an Upstart Goblin to have in the deck, along with Upstart Goblin. So 3 Into the Void. 3-power Duality. You could run 2 of it and then run one of the Reborn cards to Reborn Darklords from the graveyard if you want to run that little tech card. But for consistency reasons, to search out your traps and everything, you want to run 3-power Duality in the deck. You don't really special summon. You rely upon your normal summon consistently to just bring out Nurse Rafficule, normal summon, search all my traps, then go off. Pretty straightforward, but 3-power Duality for consistency. 2 Magical Mallet. At first I was going, I don't know if this is really going to be working in the deck, like if it would really even be quote-unquote useful in the deck necessarily. You know, like would it work out well? Because, you know, Magical Mallet, it depends upon the deck. Like in Exodia, I like it as a 1-of, but in this deck, 2-of is really necessary, because say sometimes you get too many traps. Say sometimes you get too many monsters. You can use Magical Mallet to resort your deck. And you got enough draw power, so you can draw into more draw power and then continue on with your combo plays. So the 2 Magical Mallet I really like. I've seen people run 3 of it in this version of the deck. 3 is way too much. I decided to run things like Call of the Grave instead for protection reasons, which we'll talk about here in a second. But 2 Magical Mallet, you could run 3 of it, but I like 2 of it. 1 Upstart Goblin, you burn your opponent and you get draw power. If Upstart goes more than 1-of, like 2 or 3, off the limited list, you run that many, because Upstart's amazing in the deck. And 1 Desires, you could run multiple Desires, you could run 2, you could run 3 Desires, it's up to you. But I wanted to cut down the Desires a little bit because of worrying about Drunalock and Ash to run cards to counteract those hand traps, which are the bane of this deck. And that's 3 Call by the Grave. Now you could run Ghost, because Gokis are so prevalent at the time of making this deck profile, you could run Ghost Bell and Haunted Mansion as well if you really wanted to go down that road, because that would help you against the Goki matchup and against the counteracting hand traps. But the problem with that is it doesn't work. It's a hand trap and it doesn't work well with card demise and things of that nature. So you got your yin and your yang with that. While Call by the Grave, I can, they activate a hand trap, a drill, Ash. I just be like, okay, Call by the Grave, stop you. Continue on with my combo plays. And, if they have another one, that's the way Yu-Gi-Oh! Is. But usually they just have 1. You can just be like, okay, get rid of that. Nope, no, I don't want that happening. And it's also a quick play spell, so I can set it and then activate it on my opponent's turn if they have a graveyard-oriented deck. And maybe I could banish something from their graveyard to buy me 1 turn. So it's really useful in the deck. The only reason you run it is because hand traps are so prominent in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! If hand traps were not prominent, I would probably run a 2nd Desires and maybe another Magical Mallet and something else. It's up to you. But hand traps are run by every competitive deck out there. And if you're not going first and you go in second with this deck, which you can still win going second, you really need hand traps to protect yourself. Otherwise, you're going to be dead. And if you're going first, you need protection as well, because Ash can hurt the deck, but Drill really hurts the deck. And with people running, you know, with one of the main decks being prominent still is Sky Strikers, people run Drill against that deck. And Call by the Grave, they're going to have Drill in their main deck or side deck, and you need Call by the Grave to stop those type of things. So, because hand traps are so prominent, that's why we run 3 Call by the Grave. That's the only reason. 2 bad reactions to Samoji. This is kind of like a Nurse Burn, but a continuous trap card. You run this because in case Nurse Raphael gets destroyed, you still have your bad reactions to Samoji as a backup plan. So you run 2 bad reactions to Samoji. We run 2 Pathways of Destiny. You guys know this is the coin flip card. You activate it, you either gain or lose 2,000 life points. You know, and both players do it. So this card, you don't matter about the coin flip. You just want the burn or gain the life points. So that's all that is about that. The one card that I've been trying out a lot of, and I really like into the deck as a 3 of compared to Gift Card, is 3 Try and Guess. And this card is really good in the deck if you guys don't know what it does. So I'm going to read it to you guys very quickly. For each player, if each player has an extra deck, declare 1 extra deck monster type. Fusion, Synchro, or Exceed. And this happened before Link monsters were out, so that doesn't count. Both players reveal their extra deck, and the player who has more cards of the declared type gain 3,000 life points. So if I really need to gain life points, I call Fusion, because my entire extra deck is a bunch of random fusion monsters that I'll never ever use. And so I'm going to have 15 fusions, and I doubt anybody in 2018 is running 15 fusions. And if I want to burn my opponent, well, if I want to do something else with it, I can use it other ways to burn my opponent for life points. So that's how Try and Guess works. So yeah, so if I know they run in, like, for example, an Exceed based deck or a Link based deck, I can't call links, but if I know like they have 1 Exceed monster or 1 Synchro monster, I'll be like, oh, I call that, and then they gain that amount of life points. It'd be nice if they had another one for links, but alas, we do not have that yet. And lastly, the last card we run is 3 Gift Card in the deck. You give your opponent life points, and then you burn them for life points. So, yeah, Gift Card is game, if you guys don't know, because you burn your opponent for over 8,000 life points. So, yeah. Extra deck-wise, you can run if you want to run Fusions, you run Fusions. If you want to run Synchros, you run Synchros. If you want to run Exceeds, you run Exceeds. It's up to you, but we run Fusions, so a whole bunch of Fusions we run. 3 Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, Dragon Master Knight, 3 Neo, 3 Twin Burst, 1 First the Dragon, 5 Headed God Dragon is a 3 of, the last warrior from another planet, and 1,000 Acid Strict. Just a bunch of random fusion monsters that you'll never make, because you want to use it for Try and Guess. So that's how that works out. So yeah. Hope you guys all enjoyed this video. It's a fun little deck. It's nothing, like I said, it's a very degenerate deck. I know that. I understand that. Believe me, I do. But sometimes I want to play some degenerate Yu-Gi-Oh! From time to time, and that's the way I like to play it sometimes. So, hope you all enjoyed this video. We'll have some deck profiles coming out soon from the new set. This is just to tide us over till I get those cards. So, till next time, take care. Have fun dueling. Good luck dueling. I'll see all of you guys next time, and take care, everybody.